If the Supreme Court decides to restrict access to mifepristone, what will the president do? What options does this White House have to ensure access to the abortion pill?
Another day, another carrot.
So look, I'm not going to get into hypotheticals. I want to be super mindful here. We have confidence in our arguments before the court. And so there's a DOJ, obviously, ongoing litigation. I just mentioned at the top, it's going to be a process that's going to begin tomorrow. So I want to be super mindful. Don't want to get into hypotheticals. But the president and the vice president have been very clear. We're going to continue to certainly defend FDA's approval. It is independent. It uses science. It is a medication, as I said at the top, that has been around when you think about mifepristone for more than 2 decades, and this is science-based. This is science-based, as FDA, when they move forward on these types of scientific judgment, if you will. But not going to get into hypotheticals, and we have confidence in our arguments.
Yeah.
Russia continues to indicate without evidence that Ukraine played some kind of role in the terror attack. Just how worried is the White House about that and the Russia using that to justify its war in Ukraine?
Look, we've been very clear. You saw our statement from over the weekend. This was a terrorist attack that was conducted by ISIS. Mr. Putin understands that. He knows that very well.
Really?
And look, there is absolutely no evidence that the government of Ukraine had anything to do with this attack.
Well, I'm just not sure about that right now.
We've been very clear about that. I do want to step back for a second and offer up our deepest condolences to those who lost loved ones, those who are injured because of this horrific attack. We continue to strongly condemn the heinous terrorist attack in Moscow. And we said this before, that we, in early March, the United States, this government shared information with Russia about a planned terror attack in Moscow. We were very clear about that. On March 7th, we actually informed Americans in Russia did a public advisory, to be more specific. And, ISIS bears the sole responsibility here. The sole responsibility, and Mr. Putin understands that. We shared that with their government. And so there is no evidence, absolutely no evidence that Ukraine was involved here.
How did you go about sharing that information? Was it through the State Department, U.S. Embassy?
I'm just not going to get into specifics. The U.S. government shared that with Russian authorities, and I'll just leave it there.
What do you make of Russia's decision not to act on that warning?
That's for Russian authorities to speak to their own security operations. That's for them to speak to.
No.
When we have we have information about imminent threat to civilian populations, we provide that information to the respective authorities. And that's what we did. We did that in early March. It is up to Russian authorities to speak to what they do with that, what they did with this particular information that we provided early March.
Thanks, Karine. I wanted to ask you about former RNC Chair Ronna McDaniel being hired by NBC News. Given that this is a White House that has condemned lies about January 6th, condemned lies about the 2020 election, what do you make of the network hiring somebody who participated in a phone call, pressuring Michigan officials to not certify certain votes?
So look, we're always very mindful about personnel decisions. In this instance, made by a media organization. I'll say a couple of things, and I'll quote the president in a second. So you all heard him at the Gridiron dinner very recently, about 2 weekends ago. He spoke directly about critical role that journalists play. And they have in protecting our democracy by making sure that the public knows the truth, that the public knows the facts.
Saying that? Are you serious?
And what he said is, we need you. Democracy is at risk, and the American people need to know. In fractured times, they need a context and a perspective. They need substance to match the enormity of the task. It is a big task that journalists have, and we understand that. And the facts and the truth are critical here. I'm not going to make any comments on that on a personnel decision, but as more broadly speaking, it is important. It is a burden on all of us here, right, to be really mindful about that, and that the public understands what the facts are and what the truth is.
So you're quoting the president talking about that kind of burden. I mean, does this White House, does the president believe that kind of voice, that voice like hers, that there's room for her in the national political discourse?
I mean, look, I'll answer it this way. We saw what happened on January 6th.
Yep.
We saw what happened when 2,000 people, mob, went to the Capitol and undermined our democracy, attacked our democracy.
Wrong.
Because they didn't believe in free and fair elections. And so we understand, and we saw that, and some of you may have been there, many of you reported it. And it was an attack on our democracy.
How?
And it is important that we are very clear to the public about the facts, that we are very clear to the public about the truth, and we understand the burden that you all have. And so I just want to be super mindful, not commenting on a personnel decision, but more broadly speaking, that is where we are. That is where we are as a country.
Karine, Senator Tim Kaine said yesterday that, talking about immigration and executive orders, he said Congress should act, but he also says where the president can act, he should. Is the president receptive to this type of advocacy from senior members of his own party on this issue?
I mean, look, the senior senator, speaking about a senator, bipartisan agreement that came out of the Senate to deal with immigration policy and the challenges at the border. There was a bipartisan agreement that if it went into law, if it gone through the process of the Senate in the House and the president got it to his desk and signed it, it would have been the toughest and fairest action on immigration in decades, in years. And
I'm so confused. I don't even know what you're talking about.
so that is what the president continues to speak to. We believe that is the direction to go. That is the way that we can stand on some legal ground here, and we know that it was done in a bipartisan way to move it forward. And so that's what this president wants to see. Obviously, we're in constant conversation, communication with leadership in Congress. That is something that we do pretty regularly. But there's a deal. There was a deal that was made. And the last president, President Trump, said to Republicans, some of you reported this, to reject that deal because it would hurt him politically. And that's not what we're about here. What the president wants to focus on is what Americans care about. And majority of Americans care about what's happening at the border. And we took a step to do that. We took a step. The president, along with Republicans in the Senate, Democrats in the Senate, took a step to actually deal with this issue. We've been very clear about executive actions. Will we look at executive actions to see what could work? Sure, we always do that. But here's the thing. What we understand, the bottom line is that we have to move forward with legislative action to actually make a difference here.
Stop lying!
On the horizon, his safety song. A boy with dream and joy, turn me TV. Only brawlers, the women Terry river. He sighed to a sunset in the guarded sky. 나링기띠디 challenging like madam try on the shutter on its own. We dream away in the queen for Greece net a tattoo recon. He tried girl. We are petition river we shattered horizon. We dream on front in the Pakistan. We hope with every challenge like a battered friend. A united option in the errand to try. dream bên giỏi từng biết gì về tao unique brawlers see we meet Terry River he said to was sunset in the goddamn sky never get to turn challenging like a mad temperature on the shutter on his own. We dream one way into queen from business a tattoo recon. He tried to come. We are petition prefer. We shattered horizon. We dream moon fruit in the rock is spent. We hope sweet with every challenge like a predator brand. A joy option proof in every to draw.